Comparison equals clarity. When you see that somebody has something that you want, that is clarity that you want it. So whenever people around me started writing books, well, and I started kind of feeling that like comparison, I was like, oh, shit, this means I want to write a book. Let's go put this on the vision board. But, so many of us struggle with wanting clarity. We want to know what we want to do. And then when we don't know, we get all pissed off, but yet we're over here comparing ourselves. But that's the clarity. So comparison equals clarity. We're going to compare ourselves to things that we desire. So allow your comparison to be nothing more than a message to you that you want this. Welcome to the Chingona Revolution podcast, where we will bring out your inner badass Latina, overcome self-doubt, help you gain clarity, and pave your own path, all while leading with courage. I am your host, Latina coach and speaker, Erika Cruz. Hello, Rebels, and welcome back to Chingona Revolution. Today, we're doing something a little bit different. We have two very special guests with me today, and we're doing a live coaching call. So you are getting a little bit of behind the scenes as to what happens on a coaching call with me. And we have two incredible guests. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. We have Garcia and Guadalupe Rodriguez, and both of these amazing women are working on courage projects around starting coaching businesses. They're two different types of businesses or two different types of coaching businesses. But I am obviously, as a coach, I feel like coaching is life-changing and we need so many more coaches, especially so many more Latina coaches and so many more coaches of color. So I am honored to have these two here on the podcast. Guadalupe, can you introduce yourself first? Tell us where you're located, like what area. Obviously, don't give us your address. Let's be safe here. But, just like what area you're located in and what your Courage project is. And then we'll move on to Edie's.
All right. Okay. So I'm Guadalupe and I am from New York. So I'm located just outside the city, but I grew up in the city. And my Courage project is just being on top of my game for social media so that I can really market myself as a Latina health coach.
Amazing. Thank you. And Edie's, how about you?
Hi, everybody. My name is Edie's, and I am now located in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I am originally from the Bay Area, so that's a whole new transition. But my Courage project is to be able to self-coach myself with any negative or limiting beliefs within my business. So for the business to aspire.
Amazing. Great. So Guadalupe, I want to just come back to you and ask what got you interested in health coaching to begin with?
Oh, big story. So a few years back, I was diagnosed with PCOS. So that's just abbreviation for polycystic ovarian syndrome. So it's fairly new. There's not much research on it, but it basically just means your hormones are imbalanced, whether that's your menstruals are too heavy, you're not getting your period, or your cramps are too intense and unbearable. It varies. So I actually don't get my period regularly. And when I was diagnosed with that, I took it upon myself to really just work at my dieting and my workouts. And when I did, I actually fixed it on my own. I'm very against birth control, any medication that's going into my body. To me, it's just not meant to be there, right? So how do I fix things holistically and on my own? And I did it. And so that kind of just pushed me to believe wow, if I did this on my own, there's so many other people out there, especially women that can do this on their own as well. Why don't I learn more about this? So I started attending IN, an Institute for Health Coaching, and I just learned more things and really got more involved. And I was like, why don't I just go help other women? And I don't know, it just was my calling. It became my thing. I wanted to do something that was impactful, that I can really change people's lives, especially in our community. I feel like there's not a lot of women that are knowledgeable enough. I know a lot of women who suffer from this and think that this is their only solution, either taking pain medication or getting on birth control. There's definitely different ways to handle it. So if I could just get the word out there and change at least one person's life, my mission is complete on this planet. So yeah, that's kind of what got me into it. And yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I actually didn't learn about PCOS until I want to say it was the first or second round of Courage Driven Latina when it was named Purpose Driven Latina. And one of the girls had PCOS and she started a blog about it and she pretty much educated us. And I did not know what it was. And I've been really into like cycle syncing and it really depends on your hormones. So I think you're totally right. So many people struggle with PCOS and they don't even know much about it. And unfortunately, the medical industry, like I remember the first client I had, she was pretty much like, I think she was like 13 when she found out. And the doctor was pretty much like, yeah, you may never be able to have kids, and just like said it so nonchalantly. And I think that your work is so important because this isn't something that's talked about a lot in general, but especially in our culture, right? Like we don't have that much knowledge around hormones. So I'm so excited to coach you today about this business. Edie's, how about you? What got you involved in coaching? Like, how did this interest inspire for you? How did it come to fruition?
Wow. Okay. So it all started in 2020, I want to say, where I was in a previous relationship where I felt like I was doubting myself. I had to prove my worthiness. And then I encountered Jay Shetty's content and it changed my life forever. And so that is where I guess my journey with wanting to help women with their own self healing journey came about, where I was like, you know what? I want to inspire people to go inward, as scary as it may seem, but to be able to transform to be their best selves. So in 2021, I actually joined my first coaching call. So, a shout out to my previous coaches out there. They honestly inspired me, and just being able to be in those containers, I knew that was where I needed to be. So that just inspired me to go for it. I even got certified through like the Dharma Coaching Institute with, Sahara Rose. That's been also life changing. So that's where a lot of the motivation and drive goes in. So just what Guadalupe mentioned is I just want to inspire people to just go inward. That's it.
I love it. Jay Shetty and Sahara Rose are definitely mentors, digital mentors of mine as well. So, all right, let's get into the coaching part. Let's get into the coaching part of this. I assume you have coaching questions. Who has questions? Nothing is off limits. Like you can ask business questions, life questions, ask questions about my business, but where can I be of service?
So I can go first. I think right now I'm struggling with connecting. So I had clients when I first became a certified health coach. I took a break due to burnout, personal reasons, and hence why my new project, I'm trying to get back into this. I want to like take that experience and kind of reflect on it and use it now. But it's been like over a year. I don't know how, I guess, do I even use that? Do I even bother using that? Do I just start from scratch with new people and take it from there? Yeah, I think more of that.
Where did you get your first clients from?
Friends and family.
Okay. And so your question was, do you start from scratch, or are you asking, should you reach out to the people that you've already worked with, or should you just find new clients?
Yeah.
I would do both.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd reach out to the people that you've already worked with. And I also just want to completely normalize taking breaks. I am glad that you did what you needed to do to take care of yourself because, the whole point of starting businesses is to have a better quality of life. And I think sometimes we get so hung up on the businesses that we ignore our life. So I just first want to commend you for that. And then secondly, I would definitely reach out to the people that you've already worked with because there's already like a known like and trust factor with them. And I would say, hey, I'm starting to take clients again. I'd love to invite you back because you're a returning client. Offer them something extra. Maybe like I'll give you an extra call or I'll give you a specific, a couple $100s off or something like that. And then I would also invite them to refer people to you. So, by the way, if you know anyone else who may be looking for a health coach, I have X amount of spots left. And I know that you have a full-time job. So, I would maybe limit it to like taking on 4 clients or something like that. And then I would still show up. I know that you've been creating content and showing up. So, I would still show up on social media and I would even talk about these past clients that you've had. I would still talk about their wins in your content. Like I have a client who was struggling with this and that. And once we realized that her hormones were actually imbalanced, we were able to help her regulate her cycle a little bit more and get her off of birth control. Like I'm just using examples based on what you just told me. But I would really look at, what did you do for these clients when you were working with them? And how can you talk to that in your content so that you can attract more of those clients? Because if they were struggling with this, chances are so are other people.
Yeah. Okay, I can do that. I have a second question.
Yeah.
Money. I don't know what to charge. That is my biggest battle. Even when I first started coaching, I took these clients, but I gave like 75% discount type of thing. I don't know if it's a struggle of mine, like personally, like when I wanted to become a health coach, I wanted it to be attainable. I wanted it, you know, for people that make it easy for them. It's already like hard enough to get people out of the mindset that to be healthy is expensive, get a loan, get a coach. So I don't know, I struggle with putting a payment, a dollar amount on my services.
This is super valid, especially coming from our community. You were on the Business Courage Project workshop, right? Okay, we were talking about this as well, right? Where the money mindset and just the belief around, oh, if I'm going to help people, it has to be free. And that's not completely false. It's not completely false. But I also want you to think about, if you start working with people for free, you're going to be able to work with 4 people for free at a time. So that's impacting 4 people at a time, right? But let's imagine that you do charge, right? And you're being compensated for your work. Eventually, you can maybe leave your job. You can service more people, more than those 4 people. But this is where the benefit of social media comes in. Like, what if your content on social media was the free advice and the free guidance for those people who can't work with you yet, right? Even if we think about this podcast is completely free. And I've had people message me that they've gotten results from just listening to the podcast. And that's the whole point. But if I didn't charge for my coaching programs, I'd still be working a full-time job and I wouldn't be the coach that I am because I wouldn't have the time or the energy or the creative space to even come up with things or to even record podcast episodes. So I think the first thing to do here is really coaching yourself around what's the benefit for you and for your clients if you charge them. Because when people pay money, they pay attention. Right? Like, have we ever offered something free for somebody and then they just don't show up? Because there's no value attached to it, right? There's nothing to miss out on. So I think the first thing is, how is this beneficial? And actually answer this to me. So how is it beneficial for you if you charge people for your services?
I get to quit my 9 to 5. And
How is it beneficial for them?
it holds them accountable. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you know what's so funny, or not funny, but like what's so cool? It's once you make money, you get to do all the free stuff you want. I speak to nonprofits for free. I'll speak at schools for free, or like I'll offer discounts. There's things that I'll do for free because I have enough money to survive that I do have that luxury of doing these other things.
Okay.
So as far as charging goes, I think do the mindset work, like do some self-coaching on like why it's important for you to charge. Because right now I think you're probably having a thought around the lines of, if I really want to help people, then I shouldn't be charging them. But what if that thought then became, because I want to help people, I'm going to charge for my services because it's beneficial for everyone.
Yeah, that works.
And then as far as how much you want to charge, because I mean, I could sit here and tell you charge $3,000 for 3 months and you're going to be like, oh, Erika, and you may never sell anything because you're not sold on that price. So and I've shared this before, when Courage Driven Latina started, I charged $700 for it. 770, I think it was like 777, something like that. And I was terrified. I was like, this is so expensive. And now the price is $27.77. However, that first round was not what this round is. I didn't have any curriculum. I had no frameworks. I didn't really have a lot of support things in place. So when you're just starting out, it's okay to charge a lower amount because we want your belief to be behind that price as well. Because I mean, if I tell you go charge $3,000 and you're like, okay, I'm going to go do it, but you're really thinking in the back of your mind, I can't charge this person this much. I'm ripping them off. If that's what you're believing, you're giving off that energy, and you're also not going to try to sell it. You're going to try to not sell it because you're a good person and you don't want to rip anyone off, right? So it's about finding that balance between what do I think is fair for my services? What's going to be fair for them? What's going to allow them to show up and be accountable? And what price can I get behind? Like, it's a balance between those different things. So maybe evaluate what your existing price was and add 20% to that and start off with that. And once you get one client, that's going to help you build your belief of, oh yeah, I can charge this amount. And then the next one, put it up a little bit more. And you could even tell those people that you're reaching back out to, the clients who were your clients in the past, you could tell them that you have like a limited time offer where you're honoring a similar price that you gave them, but it's going to go up. Sound good?
I got this. I feel better.
Okay, good. Edie's, we'll go to you.
Awesome. I think my question is how to not get stuck on all the information and trying to retain it. I feel like as a coach or a future coach, I know my stuff. And yet I get stuck on wanting to observe everything because I want to be the best coach possible and I want to know everything, but I'm not. That's stopping me from actually taking action and actually just like coaching people because I know I can do it. Like, I'm certified. I've been in coaching programs. I know what I'm talking about. I have strategies. I just haven't implemented it yet. So like, how do we get from that mindset of like, oh, let me learn everything to like, let's go, let's take action and let's show up for the people that we want to serve?
Okay, first of all, you said future coach. You are a coach. Embody that. So I think the first thing that I want to mention, because this happens a lot, I hear people say, oh, an aspiring this or soon to be this. It actually starts with us identifying as that person because then other people will see us that way. So I had to decide that I was a coach before I even signed a client. Because if I waited for the validation from my clients, it just wasn't going to happen. So we almost have to reverse it. We make the decision as to who we want to be. We show up as that person because that's how we're going to create or find the evidence of that identity. So whenever you're picking a new identity, and you get to pick whoever you want to be, you have to pick that thing blindly and you're not going to have evidence yet, but then you're going to collect the evidence once you've made the decision. So I decided that I was going to be a traveler when I hadn't even really been traveling that much lately. And then I was like, okay, can I run my business while I do this? Or I had to decide that I was going to be a confident person. And I started to show up confidently, even if in the back of my mind, sometimes I wasn't sure of myself. And now when people meet me, they're like, how are you so confident? But it took me making the decision that I wanted to be that first. So when it comes to identity work, you get to pick whoever you want to be. Or like, I called myself a speaker before I ever had a speaking engagement. That's how I landed speaking engagements. And now I believe that I'm a speaker because of all the times I've now found the evidence of it. So that would be the first thing. And then secondly, Edie's, you bring up such a good point. This happens a lot with my clients where we love learning. And you, as a projector in human design, you're meant to be a guide to society. And as a projector, what are your profiles? Do you know what your profiles are?
It's a 3-5. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So as a 3, you're really meant to like trial and error. You're not supposed to be a perfectionist. You're meant to show the world that it's okay to fail. So first, I just want to validate that you're not the only person in this situation, because I saw Guadalupe over there like nodding her head as well. And it was me as well. Before I even ever started taking action, I did all the research. I'd go to all the free classes. I would do all the different things. And the truth is that every single strategy works. But when you're consuming all this different content and you're not picking one strategy, it's really confusing because a lot of the strategies are different and they conflict with one another. So I almost would say that for you, Edie, you have so much like wisdom and knowledge already. You have everything you need to support clients right now. So I would actually suggest that you stop consuming content. And I know that feels hard because it's almost a habit, right? At least give it a try for a week And the only content I want you to consume is what you write down in your journal. Especially, I'm assuming you're a big journaler, right?
Yeah, I journal almost every day. So yeah.
Okay, I have this theory that projectors are always huge journalers because as projectors, we want to feel seen, heard, and validated. And through journaling, we allow it to do that for ourselves. So I'm also a projector. We'll talk a little bit about Guadalupe, about your human design as well, and how you can use it in your business. Because I think there's a lot of power in knowing our human design type. And for those of you listening that are like, what in the world is human design? Human design is nothing more than your energetic blueprint. It shows you, it teaches you about how to use your energy, how to make decisions. And there are about 5 different energy types, but it's been super helpful in my business. So I recently had a workshop for my clients. And Edis, I know that you also have taken the same course that I took as well. And it's really transformational. So with your question, I would say stop consuming content. The only content you could consume is your journal. And I mean, if this means like turning off all notifications on social media and only creating content to post, and I'm specifically giving you two coaching around social media because I know that you two are comfortable with creating content. Maybe we're still working at making it a habit, but you two are capable and I've seen your content and it's good stuff. So obviously there's other ways of growing your business that aren't just social media. So I would suggest that for you, Edis, because what's happening is you're almost like absorbing information from all over. And it's what I call the research cycle, where you realize you want to do something, you start to do research, but the more research you do, the more you realize there is to learn, and then it becomes crippling. And then so you keep doing more research, and then the more research you do, the more you realize there's more to learn. And the truth is, we're never going to get to this place where we know everything. And the more that you're consuming other people's content, it's also preventing you from coming up with your own stuff. So when I came up with my pizza analogy or with the 4Ms, it wasn't because I was consuming a ton of content. Both of these actually happened when I was on vacation, spending time alone and journaling a little bit more. And that's where they came from. So does that help?
It does help because even as you're mentioning all these tips, and I'm even thinking back on my own journey, like when I posted the best, at least for me, where it felt real, it was where I got the most engagement. And it's true, I was not on social media. It all came from my journals, whatever I wrote on my notes when I was on the airplane and getting all these creative ideas. That's what, brought the people in. So I definitely will do that. And I'll take that challenge of like not going onto social media. I think that's going to be very helpful.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean you could never consume. It just means be intentional with your consumption. And the other thing I would suggest for you, Edis, and or for you as well, Guadalupe, is try to come up with the recipe for creativity that works for you. So my creativity recipe is a good night's sleep, ensuring that I'm getting exercise in, maybe doing some meditation and journaling. That's usually my recipe that's when I receive the most downloads. If I pulled an all-nighter, or if I had too many tequila shots, or which I haven't really been drinking much lately, but if I'm hungover, I'm not going to come up with downloads. Or if I'm just consuming, I'm not going to come up with creative ideas. So just like you were explaining to us, Edie, that you were on the airplane or like when you were on vacation, start to think about, okay, when do these creative hits come and how can I create that environment for myself?
That's very helpful. Thanks, Erika. And I think also just to like go on to question number 2 is like, how do we, I guess, create the community that we want? I know that that's been my biggest question. Like, I want to create the community. I want to be able to connect with people more. I know that I'm getting more comfortable with just like posting, but I still haven't seen that community just yet. I know that I've been thinking about like creating my own podcast, probably creating like a own like group. Maybe I should like do a separate page, but I guess I just wanted more insight on how to create community. So that way, it comes.
Yeah. And, the community is going to come whenever you start bringing on clients because those clients become your community. But what you can do in the meantime, what I would suggest to get yourself out there, especially if a podcast is in mind for you, because the last thing I want is the podcast to be a distraction. Like, oh, I need the podcast and then my business is going to grow. Well, no, because your business could grow without the podcast. So what if your goal is to create community? What if you did an Instagram live series where you maybe did like free coaching on IG Live, or maybe you just had conversations with people on IG Live. Like you two would be a great pair to do an Instagram Live together. But the beautiful thing is there's no editing involved. You can come up with questions or topics you want to talk about ahead of time. All you have to do is go live, and then you get to save it to your profile. And it's a good way to get comfortable with being on camera. It's a good way to test out your ideas for a podcast, because then you could even start to pick up different themes on like, what do I want my podcast to be on? And then it allows you to build community because you are accessing your followers and they're seeing your face and the conversations you're having, but they're also seeing Guadalupe's followers are also getting access to you. So that's a great way of building community. It's just allowing people in on these amazing conversations that are already happening.
That's a great idea. I like that one a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And then the other thing I would say for building community, because it's community is twofold, right? Like there's my community that I rely on when I need something, and then there's the community that I've built. So like you two would be a part of the community that I've built if I ever have like a conference or an event, a client event, like you would be there. But then there's also, oh my gosh, this has never happened in my business. What am I supposed to do? Like freak out moments where I could get to call one of my friends who's also a coach. So I think when you're talking about building your community that you get to rely on, again, it would be somebody like Guadalupe, somebody that's in Courage Driven Latina with you, maybe somebody who's been in your previous coaching programs. And that you just have to make an intention to reach out to them, and even asking for peer coaching. Like, do you have like 30 minutes to jump on a call where I can like bounce some ideas off of you? Or if, like, for example, I have a friend named Mariela who is the queen of one-on-one coaching. So when I was trying to book out more people for one-on-one coaching, I would go to her. And then when people were starting to like grow their group, they would come to me because they're like, how do you manage Courage Driven Latina with more than 10 people in there? And then whenever I needed support on something like podcasting, I could go to my friend Kat, who's been podcasting from the beginning. So it's like, you're all going to be known for your thing. And the truth is, like, Edie's, you could probably already see what Guadalupe is really good at, and Guadalupe could probably see what you're really good at. And we don't realize what we're good at. So that's also why that type of community is also important. So essentially, like the people we can rely on. Any other questions?
I think I have one more question. It's in regards to like comparison, because I think that's another thing that hits me the hardest is that I see so many people doing what I want to do. Or sometimes I see that people did something that I was like, oh my God, but I wrote that down. Like, you know what? It's not even worth doing anymore. I feel like I tend to limit myself like that or play small because I feel if it's being out there and it's repetitive, who wants to hear what I have to say? So how would you kind of navigate kind of reshifting that mindset and also realizing, because I know we live in an abundant world and that my message is going to be very different from maybe any of us, right? Like it's going to be projected into a different way. Maybe I hit particular people in I don't know, a whole different aspect or whatever not. But yeah, how do we like reshift that? Because I feel like that's also something that I've been stopping myself from actually moving forward, where I'm like, well, there's already too much. My magic sauce like doesn't seem like it might be worth it, as horrible as that sounds out loud. But yeah.
Yeah. And thank you for mentioning this, because I think a lot of people struggle with comparison. And I have a very unique view on comparison, which I want to talk about comparison in general. But first, let me address what you just mentioned with like, oh, damn, I was going to talk about that, because this has come up with my clients a number of times. A lot of my private clients as well have told me I was going to talk about perfectionism. And then like I saw another coach talked about it and I had already written it down, and like the exact same thing that you're telling me, I've heard it so many times. So I think whenever that happens, we're all in this world of bettering ourselves and of self-development. There's only so much as to what we can really talk about, right? I mean, there's so many people who talk about habits, overcoming perfectionism, releasing shame, overcoming family expectations, not overthinking, trying to make quick decisions, build confidence. I mean, how many times do I talk about courage? And like, I just package it up in a different way. And it's like, but I'm always talking about courage. So I think that You are correct that we live in this abundant world and other people may talk about something similar, but those people don't have the exact same followers that you do. So, maybe like, let's say they have followers ABC and you have followers XYZ. Well, it doesn't matter if they said something similar because the whole point of you creating that piece of content was so that you could impact your followers. And then hopefully, if you're impacting your followers enough, maybe they want to work with you and become clients, right? But the first goal is always to impact with your content. That's why a lot of my coaching is around creating valuable content. So, yeah, maybe this person talked about it, but that person's not reaching the same people you're reaching. So I always like to remove our ego from situations like this and ask yourself, who's missing out on the service if I don't do this? Who's missing out on the impact if I don't do this? And it's your followers XYZ. So I would think about it like that. And then let's say that maybe you have followers XYZ, they have followers ABC, but follower A follows both of you. Well, how is it beneficial for follower A to see something about perfectionism twice? It's really beneficial, right? Because our brains don't see something once and have it retain. And maybe the way that you delivered it is different than the way the other person delivered it. So that would be the first thing about similar content. And even in your own content, just because you talked about perfectionism once doesn't mean you can't keep talking about it. You could talk about perfectionism for an entire week and just tell a different story around perfectionism or a different tip on how to overcome perfectionism. But overall, I think to the theme of comparison, I like to think of comparison equals clarity. Because like, let's say you see something on social media and it triggers you. And you're like, damn, like that's exactly what I want to do. Like, damn, this person's fully booked out or this person's already impacting people. Oh, it makes me feel like I'm comparing myself and I don't like it. The only time comparison doesn't feel good is when we don't believe that we can have that thing that the other person has, when we feel like we're not worthy of it. So it only whenever we feel like we cannot have it. So let's say that you saw that somebody had an event, an in-person coaching event, right? And you see it and you're like, oh, I'm having one next month. Good for them, right? Because you're already doing it. But if you see it and you're like, damn, like I'll never be able to do that, that's going to make you feel really crappy. So a lot of times comparison feels bad when we feel unworthy of that thing that's desired. But we're never going to look at somebody who maybe, I don't know, started doing oil changes on social media and think, oh, I'm comparing myself. Because chances are we don't want that. So we're only comparing ourselves against things we desire. So in other words, comparison equals clarity. When you see that somebody has something that you want, that is clarity that you want it. So whenever people around me started writing books, well, and I started kind of feeling that like comparison, I was like, oh, shit, this means I want to write a book. Let's go put this on the vision board. But, so many of us struggle with wanting clarity. We want to know what we want to do. And then when we don't know, we get all pissed off, but yet we're over here comparing ourselves. But that's the clarity. So comparison equals clarity. We're going to compare ourselves to things that we desire. So allow your comparison to be nothing more than a message to you that you want this. So even if like people have been comparing themselves to me with like the consistency on social media, well, maybe what they want is to show up consistently on social media. Or maybe what they need is a repurposing manager because I'm not even over there posting, right? So sometimes it's like they're comparing and it's not even an accurate comparison because they assume I'm over here doing everything when I have 4 people on my team that are helping me do a bunch of different things. So to summarize that rant, comparison is not a bad thing. It's only a bad thing when you feel unworthy of that desire, but comparison is clarity. So when you find yourself comparing yourself against someone, how can you add that to your vision board? Do you feel stuck in your life or business and aren't sure what's next for you? Do you feel like everyone seems to have things figured out, but you feel like you're missing something? I totally hear you. I was in your exact shoes just a few years ago, and this is why I've created my coaching programs. Courage Driven Latina is a 12-month group coaching program designed to help you take action on your courage project in just 90 days. Whether you're in the middle of a life transition, struggling with self-doubt, tired of starting and stopping a project, or feeling lonely in your goals and dreams, then this program is for you. A courage project can be starting a business, launching a podcast, starting your healing journey, or building the confidence to date after a divorce. No matter the project, my Courage framework will help you overcome any obstacles and help you make your dreams a reality. Inside of Courage Driven Latina, you will build confidence, courage, and find a supportive community of driven women cheering you on every step of the way. Magnetic Mastermind is my advanced program for women entrepreneurs and leaders. This program is for those of you who have already started but are ready to grow without the hustle. You'll improve your strategy, spirituality, and self. You'll use my magnetic framework to attract, not chase, dream clients and opportunities. Remember, you are the creator of your reality. Don't let procrastination hold you back any longer. Go to theerikacruz.com, that's Erika with a K, under Work With Me. It's also linked down below in the show notes where you can learn more about these programs, you can join the waitlist, and you will be the first to know when we open the doors. I cannot wait to work with you. Now, let's get back to the show.
Oh my gosh, that was so powerful. Honestly, you just made me feel super complete with that. I feel like that is exactly what I needed to hear. At first, I was a little triggered when I was like, how dare you like say that I, feel unworthy, but at the same time it's like I do feel that way. But reshifting it in regards to finding the comparison to be your clarity, that then be your message, I think that is very powerful. So I'm going to be using that mindset moving forward. Thank you, Erika.
Yeah. And the really important thing is that you can recognize that awareness of, oh, if I feel unworthy, why? And like, let's find evidence as to why I am worthy. Okay. So for my example, a lot of my friends have been publishing books, but that just means I have more support in publishing a book. Right. And it's like, coming as the person who struggled a lot in school, but now I'm looking for evidence on how is it that I'm a good writer? Well, I write Instagram captions all the time. I write emails all the time. I am a good writer. I just wasn't a good student. So for a long time, I felt unworthy of writing a book because I was like, oh, I'm just not capable. And I've had to do a lot of coaching around that where I have found evidence of like, oh no, I am capable. And even if I don't know how to do something, I can rely on other people for support as well.
100%. Like, I agree with everything that you just said, and even just like receiving the support and being able to create awareness around it. That's very powerful too. So thanks
Yeah.
again. Like that, honestly, like I said, I felt complete. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you.
I
love it. Good. I'm glad. Guadalupe, any other questions?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for that because I didn't even know I needed that. But yeah, that was very powerful. I took so many notes. Yes, I do have another one. I know we've talked about, trying to show up on social media and just being imperfect, like about it. Just do it, right? It's still not working. So I don't know if there's a way I can structure my day, or structure like I do certain things on certain days. Given that I have this other job, like I wish I could just quit it and just do my own thing, but I know that's not possible right now. So I'm just trying to figure out where I can, I guess, organize myself so that I do keep up and hold myself accountable with posting.
Yeah. And I would not suggest that you leave a job to give yourself more time because I've seen this happen over and over again where people leave a job and then they stress themselves out because they no longer have income and then they put all that pressure on their business. And that's not the type of business that you want to build because it takes time to build a business. It does. And this is also why we've extended Courage Driven Latina to be 12 months because we're very aware of it takes a minute and maybe you go down this path and then you may have to pivot, right? But it takes you taking the step to in order to know pivoting. So I think there's this belief around, oh, if I leave the job, I'm going to have all this time. But what actually ends up happening is we can't find the structure when your time is limited, when you have all this time, it's just going to be an unstructured mess of time. So this is the best time to build something is when you already have something because it allows you to be very in integrity with the business you want to create. versus if you're relying on your business to make you money, you're just going to follow the money rather than follow the type of business that you want to build. So I love that you are just self-aware and you already knew that. So to answer your question about how to show up imperfectly, tell me a little bit about what's happening. Like, how are you trying to create the content and where are you getting stuck?
So I have all these ideas and I've listed them out on my notes, but it's a matter of getting it done. Like, if I need to record myself doing something, I don't know what to put on the background. I'm really good at recording something and putting a voice over it. So the other day, I really just showed up and literally I was out sitting outside and I just recorded the trees. And then I just put a voice over it. But I guess I don't know how to me, I feel like I have to be creative to put something out there. Like I want it to look pretty almost, I guess. So I guess I don't know how to selectively just be like, today this came up, so just do it and create it. Like I feel like I have to think about it too much. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. Yeah. So when we think about your message of whether it's health in general or something around PCOS, what's the cost of you not posting a video? Like think about, what's happening to the people that you could be educating. If you don't post the video, what happens?
They miss out.
Yeah. So, as we look at like the self-coaching model, let's actually go through a quick model right now. So the circumstance is that you're posting how many times a week?
It was supposed to be 3, but I have my accountability with Lizette that at least 2, twice a week.
Okay. So you're posting 2 times a week. And what's your current unintentional thought about it? Like, what's the unhelpful thought?
I don't have time to create content.
Okay. And how does that make you feel whenever you think the thought, I don't have time to create content?
It's discouraging.
Do you feel it anywhere in your body?
I guess my shoulders, I tense up very easily with my shoulders.
Yeah. Mine do too. How do you act whenever you feel discouraged and you have tense shoulders?
I get lazy. Like I just want to sleep and forget about it.
So you don't really take action, right? Like it's
Right.
inaction. So laziness in action. And then what result do you get whenever you don't take action?
I miss out on another week of not posting.
Okay. A couple of things before we try to reframe this. Let's validate this a little bit. So tell me more about I don't have time to create content. Like what's currently on your plate?
Work. When I'm done with work, it's cook dinner. And when I'm done with dinner, is clean up the dinner part. When it's done with that, it's relax for a bit. And then next thing I know, it's like time to go to bed, or at least because I'm trying to get to bed early, my day's over.
Okay.
And that's a Monday through Friday. So then, actually, lately, because I'm seeing a chiropractor, 2 of my days in the week go to that in the evening.
Okay.
And then on the weekends, I either have some events. I do try to maybe have a couple of hours allotted to creating something or reading about something that'll give me ideas. And that's about it.
Okay. So before we go and reframe this thought, I also want you to know that yes, you do have a lot going on, but I think what's happening is you're spending all your time thinking about the content instead of actually creating it. So it's not that you don't have time to create content. It's that you're getting stuck on the actual creation part and you're thinking about it because you said you have a list of different things. So it's actually, I just recorded a podcast about procrastination. And the reason that we procrastinate, I'm going to tell you, I have my notes right here. So the reason that we procrastinate is because we procrastinate on tasks to avoid negative feelings such as dread, incompetency, and insecurity. So as we think about creating content, it could either feel really difficult for you or you feel insecure or incompetent. Is that what's happening?
Insecure. Insecure, but I think maybe incompetent because a lot like Edie's, I feel like I have all this information. Now, how do I translate that into kind of like showing off? Like, look, I know my stuff, but maybe do I know? Like, even when in my list, I'm like, oh, I could do this. And it's like, oh, I could do that. And I know all of it, but which one do I pick type of thing?
Yeah. So I'm going to give you like a strategy answer, but I want to like reframe the way you're thinking about it as well. But before I even do that, let me just mention that because you are a manifester in human design, manifestors and projectors don't have as much energy as generators or manifesting generators. So you're actually not meant to work all day, every day. You're actually meant to honor the ebbs and flows of your energy. And you're also meant to honor time spent alone. So, as we were talking earlier about your creative recipe, I guarantee you're more creative when you've given yourself time to be alone. Maybe after you've gone out for a walk, maybe after you've done some journaling in the morning, maybe after you've meditated. So, I want you to know that, like, I don't want you to be an Energizer bunny. That's not what your goal is. You're not trying to do that. As a manifester, your words are really powerful, and so is your action. You can actually get things done pretty quickly. It's just about actually taking the action, but you don't need that much time. So I think we're just overcomplicating it, and that's totally okay. I'm going to give you some ideas. But if the circumstance is that you're posting 2 times a week right now, what's a thought that you want to think about it? Like, what's a thought that feels better than I don't have time to create content?
If I can educate one person today, my job is done.
Ooh, that is a good thought. How does that thought make you feel?
Powerful.
Ooh,
Like a
very
true
different than
manifester.
That was such a good thought. I want you to put that thought on a Post-it and see it every morning.
Okay.
So you feel powerful. Where do you feel that in your body?
Like my spine, like I just sat up straight.
Yeah, like proud chest almost.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. What kind of action do you take whenever you feel powerful and like your spine is nice and strong and your chest is open?
What kind of action you said?
Yes.
I feel like I can create a lot more things for people to start their health journey.
Yeah. And whenever you create more things to help people start their health journey, what kind of results do you get? What do you think happens?
More clients, happy people.
Yeah, more clients. And how about more impact too?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I really want you to spend more of your energy on if I can educate one person today, my job is done. That's the first thing.
Okay.
Secondly, here's your strategy advice. Based on you mentioning that the voiceovers are pretty easy for you and then you explaining what you do, what if you just recorded yourself as you cooked, just like B-roll, just like, having the phone on a little tripod as you're getting your cooking done, and then you just do a voiceover with like a tip of the day.
Okay, I could do that. And I was doing that. I was pretty good and consistent because I was trying to do recordings of what I do in my daily days. So, like, if I'm walking to the gym or if I'm cooking, literally just putting it on the counter, it records me. But I don't know why I stopped. I guess I just thought like it wasn't enough or I needed to do more.
Simple, easy content is way better than elaborate content that never gets posted.
Okay.
Especially because people have the attention span of a goldfish now, right? We literally have TikTok brains now. So short, micro pieces of content are great.
Okay. I can do that.
And then I would also, like, whenever you're resting, let yourself rest.
Yeah.
Wherever you are, be there. If you're creating the content, create the content. But if you're letting yourself rest, don't lay there thinking, I should be creating content. I should be creating content. Before you sit down, this is going to like feel weird at first, but really ask yourself, what's the intention here of me sitting down? Is it for me to actually rest? Okay, cool. Let's put content creation on the side and not worry about it.
Okay. Yeah. When you did the human design, I missed it, but I went to the recording and I took so many notes and it all made sense because anytime I do rest, I am hard on myself. I think it just comes from the upbringings and you always have to work hard. You always have to be doing something. So now trying to really honor, like, no, I'm tired. I just want to rest. But like this past weekend, I was away. So I was sitting outside and I just listening to the human design podcast and everything. I got so many ideas. I felt so good. I felt like I could actually do this. But it was because I was in a setting where I was relaxing and quiet and kind of hermiting myself. So it all makes sense. But yes, I'm going to try to, when I need to rest, just rest. And when that energy just pops up, I'm just going to get it done.
Yeah, and really just honoring those ebbs and flows of your energy, because when you do feel energized, you aren't just going to create one piece of content. You could probably create two or three, and then you could be done for the week.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah. So I know that you watched the recording, but as a manifester, your energy works in bursts and you don't really have consistent energy. So your goal is don't try to fit in, because you're actually here to disrupt and teach us a new way of doing things. So even with content, like I'm giving you guidance here, but like you're probably going to go figure out your own way. Solitude is really good for your creativity, as we mentioned. And then the more bold and authentic you are, the more powerful and impactful you will be. So I would use that in your content as well. Last but not least, some of like the manifestors that we like know and love in history is Maya Angelou and Frida Kahlo.
I love Frida. Okay. I knew I loved her for a reason.
Yeah, she was a disruptor.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. So like I think just really embodying like I'm a coach that's here to disrupt in a really beautiful way. Like that's also going to be a powerful thought for you to practice.
I'm a rebel inside. Yes.
I love it. Okay, any other questions?
No.
No? Okay, cool. I guess I just have one last question for you too. What has been your favorite? Let me think about the question. I'm like creating it as I go. What, from being, obviously, you've been in Courage Driven Latina at this point for 3 months. We're coming on your fourth month. What has been one of your like most aha moments? And what has been a tool that you've really liked? It maybe like self coaching, maybe the cup exercise, maybe human design. What has been an aha moment and then your favorite tool?
Okay, I think I'll go first. I think having the reminder for the human design was extremely helpful, Erica. I know that I took that class back in 2021. I was pretty good about following that. And then somewhere along the track, like I just like left it. I was like, you know what? It doesn't serve me anymore. It's fine. But just having that reminder of where like my energetic blueprint is, it actually makes a lot more sense as I flow in my day and like try to create this impact that I want to create in the world. And also kind of tapping into like, I want to guide, right? Like that's like a good mission to think about moving forward. And then also what fills my cup, because I think as we go on our day to day, I think we get caught up with all that and I forget to fill my own cup because I'm always filling other people's cup. And if I want to be a good coach, like I want to make sure that I'm taken care of so I can take care of everybody else around me that I'm going to be serving in a more heightened way. Because I want to give them the best possible me. But in order for me to do that, I have to take care of me. So I feel like those have been honestly the two tools that I've taken away from being in your program.
Amazing. Thank you. And Guadalupe, how about you?
For me, I would have to say it's also the human design. When I really heard everything and really analyzed myself, it all just like came into perspective for me. I was like, so I am normal. So that's been such a huge thing. But also the self coaching thing. You know, as a coach, we think, oh, I'm ready to coach everyone else. But we forget that we can also do that to our own selves. And to use that as a tool, the way you have taught us to do it, is powerful. Even now, when you did it, obviously, it gives me these perspectives of like, oh, I can do this. That it helps me get that power back that I know I have. But it's a simple, easy way to just remind yourself. And then something I love about this program is the community that you've like built. And I think I've mentioned this to you before. I didn't really grow up near a lot of my own people, like Mexicans and Mexican Americans, and it's so rewarding to hear that we're all trying to achieve the best version of ourselves and that you're not the only one out there trying to complete that. So Just, being around powerful women like that is super helpful, and it's just rewarding to me to see that.
Yes, definitely. And just thank you both for being a part of the community because you all make it what it is, right? Like I can't do this on my own. So, and for those of you listening, Human Design is a workshop that we recently had, which you get access to whenever you join Courage Driven Latina. And I'd also just like to talk about how imperfect that workshop was because I had some unexpected things come up during the week. I was babysitting or kid sitting my nephew, and then other things came up and I was either going to cancel the workshop or show up imperfectly. And I totally showed up imperfectly. And I remember I had the profiles and they weren't even complete. Like I had blank slides. It was really, and I guess like my point is that even I have to coach myself on the shame of showing up imperfectly, but I knew that the content that I was bringing was going to be powerful. And that was more important than the presentation looking beautiful or having it even be 100% complete. So I also wanted to mention, because we didn't talk about what self-coaching is. So self-coaching is essentially like a framework that was created by Brooke Castillo. Brooke Castillo is the founder of the Life Coach School. So I did not create this framework, but it does take into consideration like neuroscience as well as law of attraction because it talks about the circumstance and how that leads we have a thought about the circumstance and that thought makes us feel a certain way, which makes us act a certain way, which the actions obviously lead to our results. So this is what I took Guadalupe through just a second ago. And it is a really powerful tool. I use it all the time. So yeah, I would agree with the both of you. I constantly have to reevaluate, okay, what's filling my cup? Why is my cup empty? How do I fill it up? And then as well as coaching myself because those little self-doubt thoughts are sneaky. And it doesn't matter like what level of business you're in, they will come up. And then yeah, obviously human design has been some like my latest obsession. So I'm glad that you both enjoyed it. Thank you both so much for coming onto the podcast and for coming with your questions. I feel like this was such a good episode. This coaching was probably helpful for your colleagues and other people as well. So thank you both so, so much. And I will see you next week.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me this week. Make sure to visit theerikacruz.com. That's Erika with a K, where you can subscribe to the show so you'll never miss an episode. You can help this podcast grow by supporting me with an Apple Podcast rate and review. If you took anything away from this episode, I invite you to take a screenshot and share it on social media so that your favorite badass Latinas can also check it out. Be sure to tag me at the Erika Cruz. That's Erika with a K because you know I want to see it. If you're ready to join the revolution and be a part of the Courage Driven Latina community, visit couragedrivenlatina.com to get more information and join the waitlist. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.